එදිනෙදා ඔබේ මුළු සිරුරටම රැකවරණයක්. සුදේශී කොඹ සබන්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50 අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, positive trend. Sri Lanka records its highest number of daily COVID-19 recoveries. On the verge of resumption, Colombo Stock Exchange chief not in favour of market closure. Further clarification. The government insists that the president's procurement of pandemic expenditure is above board. Return to familiar times. The country gears to enter normalcy from Monday. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 9th of May, 2020.
SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල් තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම 100 ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Now, as both state and private sector institutions are to recommence operations on the coming Monday, the service sector will see making arrangements in anticipation of the arrival of some semblance of normalcy to daily life. The Fort railway station, which is a transportation hub, was cleaned and disinfected. But there is, however, some divisive news for certain people, as the Department of Excise states that liquor stores will, however, remain closed. Another phase of the program of liberating people who are stranded in the Western Province with the onset of the curfew was worked off this morning in Ratmalana. Accordingly, 1,200 people who were stranded in 10 police areas under the Mount Lavinia Police Division were convened to the railway ground of Ratmalana to be sent home. Their body temperature was taken and they were disinfected before being sent on their way aboard SLTP buses. With civilian life set to resume from Monday onwards, with the curfew continuing to be in place, the Fort railway station, which is a transportation hub, was cleaned and disinfected. What's more, a thermal camera system capable of detecting body temperatures of commuters arriving at the station was also installed at the premises today. If the body temperature is normal at around 37.5 degrees Celsius, an indicator will light up green, and if the temperature is above that, the system will flag the commuter with a red-coloured indicator. Meanwhile, the premises of the Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte Municipal Council was also disinfected today. A program which distributed disinfectant liquids to officials of local authorities in the Colombo district was also worked off at the municipal council premises. In the meantime, a special meeting with regard to the opening of institutions in the districts of Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa was worked off today under the patronage of North Central Province Governor Mahipala Herath. Though the curfew regulations are set to be relaxed from Monday, the Excise Department has decided to keep all liquor stores in the island closed.
ඇඳිරි නීතිය සම්බන්ධ විධිවිධාන යටතේ නොවේ සොරබදු බලපත්‍රලත් ස්ථාන වසා තැබීමේ නියෝගය කළේ එය වෙනත් විශේෂ විධානයක් හැටියට ඒ නිසා ඇඳිරි නීතිය ඉවත් කිරීම හා සමගම ස්වයංක්‍රීයවම සුරබදු බලපත්‍රලත් ස්ථාන වැසීමේ නීතිය ඉවත් වන්නේ නැහැ. එම නිසා තව දුරටත් සුරබදු ස්ථාන වැසීමේ නීතිය එලෙසම වළංගු වෙනවා රජය විසින් ඒ සම්බන්ධ විශේෂ නියෝගයක් නිකුත් කරන තෙක්.
Meanwhile, Lanka Self-Employed Persons Three-Wheeler Association urged all three-wheeler drivers to adhere to safety protocols and practices such as wearing masks and gloves. With the introduction of the curfew, foreign nationals who were visiting Sri Lanka on short-stay visas were stranded in the island. With this in mind, authorities gave an extension to all types of visas on 2 occasions. In the latest development, the Department of Immigration and Immigration has announced that it will extend the validity period of all types of visas for foreigners who have arrived in Sri Lanka by 30 days from the 12th of May to the 11th of June 2020. Furthermore, services on passports can be obtained by calling the Immigration and Immigration Department via the telephone numbers 070 710 1060 or 070 710 1070 between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on working days, and also by visiting the department's website. The curfew introduced to curb the spread of COVID-19 has put strain on people, especially daily wage earners and farmers. Farmers in the area of Iriaoya in Habarana are faced with difficulties since the government had not purchased their stock of vegetables. The farmers say that they cannot shift the harvest at acceptable prices, and they also lament the lack of customers. Now, Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Bandula Gunawardena today responded to the opposition claims which say that the manner in which the President has procured funds by way of loans during the pandemic without convening the Parliament is unconstitutional. Reading from the relevant act, Minister Gunawardena insisted that the President is empowered to take such a course of action by law, and if anyone disagrees, legal action can be pursued. The Kaluthura district candidate of the Samagi Jana Balawege, Ajit P. Pereira, stated that the President obtaining loans without the approval of Parliament is unconstitutional.
අලුත්ම තත්ත්වයක් ඇතිලා තියෙනවා. රටේ ආණ්ඩුවට ණය ලබා ගැනීම පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අනුමත කරපු සීමාව රුපියල් බිලියන 721යි. දැන් මේ වන විට රජය රුපියල් බිලියන 841ක් ණය අරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ වැඩිපුර රුපියල් බිලියන 120ක් ණය අරන් තියෙනවා. මූල්‍ය වගකීම් පනත අනුව අනුමත කරපු සීමාව ඉක්ම ගියොත් ඒ ක්‍රියාවට දායක වන නිලධාරීන් සහ තීරණ ගන්නා වූ තැනැත්තන් පෞද්ගලිකව වග කියන්න ඕන. මේ මතුවලා තිබෙන තත්ත්වය තුළ රජයට තව ණය ගන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් ඒ සඳහා අනුමැතිය ලබා දෙන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් කරන්න.
However, Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena stated in a media briefing today that the President has obtained loans in accordance with the Constitution.
දැන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා අවුරුදු 4මාර ඉක්මවීමෙන් පසු නීත්‍යානුකූල ආකාරයට විසිරවලා තිබෙනවා. විසිරෙව්වට පස්සේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට තියෙන මුදල් පිළිබඳ සියලු බලතල අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට නීතිය මගින් ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව විසින් පවරලා තියෙනවා. 150 තුන්වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ මෙලෙසින් සඳහන් වෙන්නේ. යම්කිසි වර්ෂයක විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත නීතිය බවට පත්වීමට පෙර ජනාධිපතිවරයා විසින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසිරවාරනු ලැබූ අවස්ථාවක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසින් රජයේ සේවාවන් පවත්වාගෙන යාම සඳහා මුදල් වෙන් කර නොමැත්තේ නම් අභිනව පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස්වීමට නියමිත දින සිට මාස 3ක් ඉක්ුත් වන තෙක් රජයේ සේවාවන් සඳහා යම්කිසි මුදලක් අවශ්‍ය වෙතයි ජනාධිපතිවරයා සලකයි නම් එම මුදල ඒකාබද්ධ අරමුදලෙන් නිකුත් කිරීමට වැය කිරීමටත් නියම කිරීමට ජනාධිපතිවරයාට බලය ඇත්තේය. පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසින් රජයේ සේවාවන් සඳහා මුදල් වෙන් කරලා නැහැ දැන්. එතකොට අභිනව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් අලුත් ඡන්දයෙන් පසුව පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස්වීමට නියමිත දින සිට මාස 3ක් යනත් එක් ජනාධිපතිවරයා දකිනවා මේ ලෝකයේ කිසිවෙකුටත් බේරාගත නොහැකි දැවැන්ත වෛරසයක් පැතිරලා ජාතියේ ජාතික ආර්ථිකයේ මනුස්ස ජීවිතවලත් ආරක්ෂාවට විශාල තර්ජනයක් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. එවිට සෞඛ්‍ය සේවාවට ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය මුදල් වෙන් කරලා නෑ. නමුත් ජනතාවගේ ජීවිත බේරා ගැනීම සඳහා මේ මුදල වෙන් කරන්න ඕන. එතකොට මේ මුදල සඳහා ණය ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කාල සීමාව තුල වෙනත් පනතක් තියෙනවා. ඒ පනත කියවලා බලනවා නම් හොඳයි තනි පිටුවයි තියෙන්නේ. 1982 අංක 40 දරන ණය විශේෂ විධිවිධාන පනත. මේ පනතේ විසර්ජන පනත නොමැති විට දේශීය විදේශීය වශයෙන් ණය ගැනීම පිළිබඳ තිබෙන බලය ඉතා පැහැදිලිව නිශ්චිතව පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසින් සම්මත කරලා තියෙන්නේ. පසුගිය වර්ෂයේ ණය සීමාවක් ණය ගත්ත සීමාවක් තියෙනවා නම් එයින් කාර්තුවක ප්‍රමාණය 4න් 1 අනුමත ණය ලෙස සලකා ණය ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා නීත්‍යානුකූල ඉඩකඩක් තිබෙන බව ඒ පැහැදිලිව සඳහන් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ පිළිබඳ කාට හරි විරෝධයක් තියෙනවා නම් මේ අන්ත අසරණ වෙලා ඉන්න ජනතාවට ජීවත් වීම සඳහා මාසකට රුපියල් 5000 බැගින් දැන් දෙවරක් ලබා දීම තීරණය කළා තියෙනකොට ඒ කරන්න තියෙන සියලුම බාධක දමමින් මේ අවලාද නගනක ඉන්නේ නැතුව මේ සහන ජනතාවට කිසිවක් දෙන්න එපා. ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුව ඒක කරන්න අයිතියක් නැහැ. ඒ සඳහා උසාවියේ තහනම් නියෝගයක් ගන්න ශේෂ්ත්‍රාධිකරණයට යන්න පුළුවන්.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවලතේ අරගන්න.
වටවලතේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
Now, Sri Lanka reported the highest number of daily COVID-19 recoveries in the island today as 20 people were discharged from hospitals, taking the country's overall recoveries to 260. Among the recoveries was the first Navy sailor that contracted the virus. In the meantime, a total of 330 residents from the Bandaranaike Martha and the area of Keselwatta in Colombo who successfully completed their quarantine process were also sent home today. The first Navy sailor that was diagnosed with COVID-19 from Polonnaruwa was discharged from the Velikanda Treatment Centre today. He had returned home on leave and upon getting admitted to the Polonnaruwa hospital after developing fever was later diagnosed as COVID-19 positive. In the meantime, 5 more naval personnel were discharged from the hospital after recovering from the virus. In the meantime, the highest number of PCR tests that were carried out in order to identify COVID-19 patients were carried out yesterday with 1,821 tests.
1821න් 717ක් ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ කරනු ලැබූ පරීක්ෂණ. දැන් මේ ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ කිරීමේදී නාවික බටයින් ගිය ගම්වල ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් කරනවා. ඊට අමතරව කොළඹ ප්‍රදේශයේත් විවිධ කණ්ඩායම්වල සැලකිය යුතු සංඛ්‍යාවක් කරනවා. ඒ වගේම නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථානවලත් 247ක් ඊයේ දිනේ මෙම පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම බණ්ඩාරනායකපුර, ඒ වගේම දාබරේ මාවත මේ ස්ථානවලින් රෝගීන් වාර්තා වන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා මම හිතන්නේ දින කිහිපයකින්ම අපට මේ ප්‍රදේශ විවෘත කිරීමට හැකියාව ලැබෙනවා.
With random testing being conducted in areas where people frequent the most, another such round of testing was conducted on a selected group of people from the area of Jintupitia today. People who are identified as at high risk of contracting the virus in Kotuwil of Vellampitiya also underwent PCR testing today. Currently, it is the relatives of COVID-19 infected members of the Valisara Navy camp that are at the Habarduwa Police Quarantine Centre in Galle. Accordingly, the samples of 42 people were taken so that they can be sent for PCR testing.
මෙහිදී අපි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම නිරෝධායන සිදු කරන්නේ COVID-19 පොසිටිව් වුණ නාවික හමුදා සෙබළුන්ගේ පවුලේ උදවිය. දැනට 81 දෙනෙක් PCR පරීක්ෂණයට ලක් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ හැමදෙනාම නෙගටිව්. අද දින තවත් 42 දෙනෙක් PCR පරීක්ෂණයට ලක් කරනවා. ඔවුන්ගේ කිසිදු රෝග ලක්ෂණයක් දැනට පෙන්눔 කරේ නැහැ. මේන් ගාල්ල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ දැනට කිසිම COVID-19 පොසිටිව් කෙනෙක් මෙම නිරෝධන මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ වාර්තා වුණේ නැහැ.
The MedSeries 7 facility constructed to treat kidney patients adjacent to the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital is currently being transformed into a centre that can be used to treat COVID-19 infected persons. The centre will be open in the near future with 10 intensive care beds for coronavirus patients. Meanwhile, the army took steps to send 289 persons who had successfully completed their quarantine to the Vattappale Quarantine Centre located in the army camp at Denmarachi in Jaffna. The people that were sent today were residents of Bandaranaike Mawatha and Kesilwatta in Colombo. In addition, 62 other people residing at Bandaranaike Mawatha, Colombo, who had been in quarantine for several days at the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre, were also sent home after completing the quarantine successfully. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's case numbers rose to 847 with 12 fresh cases being added to the country's overall tally. In addition, the country's recoveries continue to rise, with the island reporting the highest number of daily recoveries today as 20 patients were discharged. This brings the overall recoveries to 260. So far, only 9 deaths have been confirmed, as a further 575 patients remain under treatment. Meanwhile, a Sri Lankan Airlines flight flew to Melbourne this morning to bring back Sri Lankans from Australia who were unable to return home.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
In the meantime, former Minister, Rishad Badiuddin has directed a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on the final rights of any disposal of coronavirus-infected Muslims. The letter dated 8th of May says that the Muslim community is deeply distressed with the continued cremation of Muslims affected by the coronavirus. He explained that the World Health Organization recommends both burial and cremation of COVID-19 dead. He said, quote, "It is incumbent upon the living Muslims to dispose of the body of a dead Muslim as per our religious rites. Among them, burial is the only option prescribed in Islam," unquote. He has requested the President to amend the Gazette and guidelines incorporating burial also as an approved form of disposal. Now, the Judicial Service Commission says that courtroom proceedings will resume from Monday, the 11th of May, under several phases. One of its senior spokespersons states that functions will recommence in compliance with the special circular prepared by the Judicial Service Commission and the health regulations introduced by the government. Accordingly, High Courts, District Courts and Magistrates Court under the purview of Judicial Service Commission will resume functions on Monday. The Commission notes that all court premises have been decontaminated and all necessary arrangements have been made to reopen them. We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Chairman of Asia Securities Dumit Fernando says the pandemic-forced shift towards e-commerce presents an opportunity since people are likely to stick to such platforms even after COVID-19. Speaking to Indivari Amuat on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Fernando also expressed optimism of Sri Lanka's export sector rebounding in the third quarter and beyond. Also appearing on the program, the CEO of the Colombo Stock Exchange, Rajiva Bandaranaike, insisted that the market should not have been closed, as demonstrated by other global markets which continue to operate during the pandemic following an initial temporary closure. The market is set to reopen on Monday.
What is your analysis of the ongoing situation as we are ready to reopen trading at the stock exchange?
Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, we halted trading somewhere in March. And if you look at the other markets globally, they continue to operate. They took a bit of a fall initially when the pandemic first hit. But since then, we have seen almost all the markets bottoming out and recovering. So in a sense, we have missed that recovery period as well. And we've seen markets indices moving up again. We must also realize that there's a difference between what happened in Sri Lanka and the measures that the government took as against some of the markets in other jurisdictions. We had a very strict curfew as opposed to more of a lockdown in other countries.
But as a facilitator, do you believe that this was an opportunity lost for Sri Lanka?
I think if you look at markets, I think primarily markets should be continuous. We should not be closed. We should be operating. Because the reasonable expectation of investors, whether they be foreign or local, is that markets should be open for them to enter and exit. So the expectation of investors perhaps was not realized in closing the market, whether it be foreign or whether it be local investors. I think they have a reasonable anticipation of entering when they want to and also liquidating the shares when they want to. So to that extent, I think we are all in agreement that market should not be closed and should remain open.
Online markets have developed and it seems like this is going to be a permanent fixture. When it comes to markets, capital markets and the exchange, how can we look at this in a positive way as we look at a post-COVID-19 era?
I think for financial markets, electronic trading to moving things around electronically is very easy. I think the future is using these trading platforms, whether it's for markets or for banks, various financial platforms, because you don't have to move physical goods. You only move actually paper or electronic paper. So it's very easy to digitize this area, but there are several basic things that need to happen. One is the National Digital ID project needs to come about, where onboarding people to institutions or to platforms like the Colombo Stock Exchange can happen online, and verification should happen. So I think that kind of thing will make access to these products very easy, and there's a younger generation who's very used to these kinds of methods of transacting. This is an area that I think as a country we should focus on.
How do we ensure that we sustain, that we remain resilient throughout this difficult time and come out of it? I know that the SME sector, this is a big question. What is your outlook for Sri Lanka, especially when we look at global markets and how we will come out of this, and for specific sectors, Dumit?
I think we know a few things already. Certainly areas like the leisure sector are going to be somewhat challenged because that depends a lot on global travel. But I will say a lot of our export sectors over the next, certainly in third quarter and beyond, you should see those rebounding. Most of our key export destinations are now looking at reopening in June over the next few weeks. But once that happens and once the export demand returns, I think there will be opportunity there as well, because with a slightly depreciated currency now, our exports are actually a little bit cheaper for foreigners to buy than it used to be before COVID-19. We've also seen some big behavioral changes in how consumers behave in Sri Lanka, and one of the important things has been the migration to e-commerce platforms. So the consumer who went to the supermarket before is now not going anymore. So we did an e-commerce survey recently which said, before COVID, 80% of people said they bought their foodstuffs and other important items at the supermarket, and only about 10% that said they would use retail. In this survey, we have 53% of people saying that they would continue to use e-commerce after COVID-19. So I think that's going to be a change that will help people in those industries, but also help people, the consumers who are concerned about social gatherings and things like that. So there again, I think digital payments will have to be an important part of it. I think last mile logistics is an important part to be solved. But at the moment, actually, we're seeing quite a bit of interest from our corporate clients who are looking at investing in or acquiring some of these early stage companies in the e-commerce sector or logistics. So I think there's a lot of positive outlook there.
Now, major US stock indexes jumped yesterday and logged solid gains for the week after data on historic job losses due to the coronavirus crisis showed they were slightly fewer than feared. All 11 S&P 500 sectors were positive, led by the beaten-up energy group, which gained 4.3%. 2.4% gain in Apple shares also lifted the indexes after the iPhone maker said it will reopen a handful of US stores starting next week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 455.43 points to 24,331.32, while the S&P 500 gained 48.61 points to 2,929.8, and the Nasdaq Composite added 141.66 points to 9,121.32. The Labor Department reported that the U.S. economy lost 20.5 million jobs in April. Economists forecasted that payrolls would dive by 22 million, but the decline still marked the steepest plunge since the Great Depression. Asian shares also rose yesterday following gains on Wall Street as investors focused on talks between US and Chinese trade officials and solid corporate earnings rather than the looming release of data expected to show the worst US unemployment rate in more than 70 years. In Japan, the benchmark Nikkei 225 opened up 1.51% at 19,972.09 points. Hong Kong's market opened up with the benchmark Hang Seng Index rising 0.67% to 24,142.45 points. The Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.3% to 2,882.71 points. We'll see you shortly after this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Director General of World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, calls on countries all over the world to bring about the solidarity that brought about the defeat of smallpox in the battle against the ongoing pandemic. Countries are still battling the virus, and although Italy's daily number of deaths have come down significantly in the recent past, it crossed the 30,000 mark, joining the US and the UK. The number of COVID-19 cases world over have surged past the 4 million mark, while the number of fatalities have crossed the 275,000 threshold. However, the number of recoveries continue to be just over one-third of the total infections. 1,394,049 patients have recovered so far. The most grim of statistics, however, is the deaths. So far, over 276,825 people, to be exact, have perished to the virus, which is almost 7% of the infected population. The United States of America has the unwanted title of being the leader in infections and deaths. The country currently has over 1 million active cases, with the overall number there at 1,321,785. As for deaths, the figure is 78,615. US President Donald Trump's handling of the COVID-19 situation is a hot global topic, with there being more criticism than praise. It also transpires that a top aide to US Vice President Mike Pence has tested positive for COVID-19 one day after another White House staff member was diagnosed with the virus. Pence's press secretary Katie Miller tested positive yesterday, a day after President Donald Trump's valet. The White House has begun daily testing for Pence and Trump and has claimed to be taking every single precaution to protect the president. Moreover, the United States imposed a new ruling tightening visa guidelines for Chinese journalists, saying it was in response to the treatment of US journalists in China, a shift that comes amid tensions between the two nations over the coronavirus global pandemic. In the meantime, Brazil reported the highest number of fatalities from the South American continent yesterday, as 804 cases raised the country's total number to 9,992. The country had also reported over 10,000 new COVID-19 infections. In Europe, Italy became the third country in the world and the second in the continent to record over 30,000 deaths from the coronavirus. The country accounts for more than 217,000 infections, while a total of 99,023 have recovered from the virus. France and Spain, meanwhile, reported fatalities below 300 over the last day, while both countries have fatalities in excess of 26,000. In most countries, government measures geared towards curbing the spread of coronavirus were met with compliance. In Slovenia, however, thousands of people cycled through its capital yesterday to protest against the government. They accused the country's prime minister of using the coronavirus pandemic as a pretext to restrict freedoms and alleged that the PM is attempting to increase police powers, inciting hatred against migrants and making personal attacks on journalists. In Asia, authorities in South Korea's capital Seoul shut down more than 2,100 nightclubs, hostess bars and discos following smaller outbreaks of people infected with the virus being reported from clubs in the city. The country's prime minister said that they have been put to the test and vowed to mobilize all resources to contain a further spread of the coronavirus. He also said that South Korea's quarantine success or failure will depend on whether the country can stop a further spread of infections linked to clubs in Seoul. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping has sent a letter to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un offering Beijing support in the fight against the virus. Quoting Xi's letter, Chinese state television said that the Chinese president was very concerned about the situation in North Korea and the health of its people. The supportive message came a day after Kim congratulated Xi for his handling of the pandemic and highly appreciating that he is seizing a chance of victory in the war against the unprecedented pandemic. The country also reported 1 new coronavirus case and 15 asymptomatic cases. In the meantime, the man who is tasked with navigating the world through this global crisis, WHO chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, insists that the COVID-19 response calls for the same global solidarity that defeated smallpox 40 years ago.
The decisive factor in the victory over smallpox was global solidarity. That same solidarity built on national unity is needed now more than ever to defeat COVID-19. The legacy of smallpox was not only the eradication of one disease, it was the demonstration that when the world unites, anything is possible. If there is a will, there is a way.
Now, President Donald Trump has rebuffed suggestions that the US was behind what appears to have been a bungled incursion into Venezuela to overthrow President Nicolas Maduro. He had told a media outlet, quote, "If I want to go to Venezuela, I wouldn't make a secret about it." Now, Venezuela foiled what it said was a US-backed invasion attempt last weekend. The Washington Post on Thursday published a document which it says is a contract between Florida-based security company Silvercorp and the Venezuelan opposition worth $213 million to invade Venezuela and overthrow President Nicolas Maduro. The US backs opposition leader Juan Guaido and recognizes him as the country's legitimate leader. Venezuela's chief prosecutor Tarek Saab meanwhile says that individuals accused of involvement in a failed armed incursion early this week would be charged with terrorism, conspiracy, illicit trafficking of weapons of war and criminal association. Saab also said his office had requested the detention and extradition of US military veteran Jordan Goudreau and 2 Venezuelans accused of involvement in the alleged plot. Goudreau, who is the chief executive of Silvercorp, has claimed responsibility for the plan, which left 8 people dead and more than a dozen in custody, including 2 US citizens accompanying the dissident Venezuelan security forces. Opposition leader Juan Guaido's advisor Juan Rendon has said that while he negotiated an agreement with Silvercorp late last year, he cut ties with Goudreau in November and that Goudreau went forward with the failed operation on his own. On Thursday, state television aired a video with captured American Aaron Berry, who said the objective of the mission were to control specific targets such as Intelligence Service Sabin and Military Intelligence Group DGCIM, and to get Maduro. The two captured Americans said that they had been tasked by Silvercorp with taking control of the airport in Caracas in order to fly out Maduro.
This contract was posted several days ago by Jordan Goudreau and outlines my responsibilities with Silvercorp, signed by Juan Guaido, Jordan Goudreau, and Juan Rendon.
What were the objectives of the mission?
I believe it was to obtain specific targets and to, I think, get Maduro.
Where will the aircraft that will carry out the extraction of President Maduro come from, and what will be its destination?
I would assume that it is the United States.
The document deals a blow to the credibility of opposition leader Juan Guaido, who has vehemently denied any links to Silvercorp or involvement in the attempt to remove Maduro by force. The plan described in the 42-page document offers minute tactical details ranging from which landmines to deploy and what riot gear to use. The Washington Post says the General Services Agreement signed by Juan Guaido had been provided by Silvercorp CEO Jordan Goudreau, who has publicly described leading the operation. It says the detailed attachment had been provided by Venezuelan opposition officials. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.